Hey Patricia,
Hi.
how's it
Hi,
going?
Professor. It's been going well. How are you?
Good. I just spent some time preparing for our conversation. I feel like I have a lot to say. So
Oh, okay.
I took some notes and I can always just email them to you so that you're not having to like jot a million
Okay.
things down really fast. So don't worry about that. But I guess before I go on a rampage and start ranting, do you have
Mhm.
specific questions?
No, well, I guess it would just be, would you recommend that I take like a prep course? Because I've
Okay.
been weighing out my options specifically between School of PE and what was it called? The EET.
Okay.
Um, I think the EET costs about $1,000, but a lot of people have been like saying that it's worth it. So it's
Okay.
just a matter of me trying to figure out which one would be the better choice. And um, at least I think for me, it might be a good idea that I take a course now that I have to kind of figure out how I'm going to balance studying and working and then everything else.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't know. Would you recommend that or?
So it really depends on the type of studier that you are.
Mhm.
So, if you feel like you need the guidance, like you need someone to guide you through, I guess you want to like think back about how school went. Like, did you tend to be like in a study group with people, or did you tend to study on your own?
I was, I think it depended on who I was working with. A lot of the time, I found myself studying by myself.
Mm-hmm.
But if I've, found like a peer who I knew worked really
Okay.
well, I could kind of bounce off of them. Um,
Okay.
so it's more of that kind of situation. Whether I could find somebody I could work well with, or
Okay.
I could just do it on my own. But the thing is, when I'm on my own, depending on what mood I am in for that month or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, it could either mean that I'm not doing very well sitting on my own, like I'm just procrastinating, or
Okay.
I'm cramming, or I'm like really focused.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through how I would suggest pacing it if you did it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
You can do what I say and supplement it with a course or
Mm-hmm.
not do a course. When I was studying for the FE exam, I did take a course, but I kind of reflected on how that went, and I noticed that I felt like the amount of time I spent like in the classroom or whatever when people
Mm-hmm.
were lecturing to help me study, if I had just spent that block of time on my own studying, I felt like I could have covered more material. So that's why when I went to study for the PE, I chose to just do it on my own. But
Mm-hmm.
honestly, that's a preference. And then when you talk about cost, you've got to see if your employer will reimburse you for any of that. So they will? Okay,
Yeah, I
good.
get $1,500 for they're doing it differently now for the county. It's $1,500 for like professional, like certifications and whatnot courses, or you could use it for your work from home stuff. So that's what they're doing.
Okay. Okay, so
Yeah.
let me show you all these materials, which I can send you links to later,
Okay.
that I like looked in my closet and I was like, because of course I still have it all. I was like, what did I use and what did I not use? But I'm going to share my screen and start
Yeah.
with that. Okay. So, um, all right. So I would say, let me find the most important one. This one. So Lindbergh, in my opinion, is the best author to go with. He's got so many materials and he's been updating his materials along the way. So I think the latest version is the 16th edition.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm wrong. But basically, in my opinion, instead of pulling out all your textbooks from all the classes you ever took or all your notes from every single class you ever took, if you just bought this one book, you'd be covered. Like it's like one textbook that covers everything you ever learned in school, plus more, like plus all the classes you didn't take, you know? So
Mhm.
it is a really amazing resource. It's pretty thick. It's like this big. It's pretty thick. But it's worth it. So I don't even see, oh yeah, hardcover $275. You might be able to get it used, or
Hmm.
if you get 1,500 bucks and you don't take a study class, I mean 275 can just
Hmm.
be, you know, part of your spending there. But I would say this is the most important resource is getting this book by Lindbergh. And so, and I'll talk to you about how I suggest using it, but we can go through that in a second. So this essentially is like the textbook material.
Hmm.
And then he has let me see all these things that I want to talk to you about. This one. Okay, so these two are the most important. So here's your textbook, and then you also have practice problems that go along with it.
Okay.
Um, and so what I like to do is basically like read a section, read a chapter, whatever, a unit. And then because it's the same author, they like correspond with each other. So you can
Hmm.
go find that unit in the practice problem book and do those practice problems. And you can like toggle between the two and they
Hmm.
pair up really well. He has other supporting material, like here's a book of solved problems. I personally didn't use it that much because the practice problems themselves are fine for me. But
Hmm.
if you felt like you went through the whole book and you needed more, he does have a whole nother one of just solve problems.
Hmm.
Um, and then, oh, go away, go away. Okay. I'm trying to, the Zoom keeps popping up the drop down menu and I can't reach it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, this is a quick reference guide. It's like if you didn't want the huge, thick textbook, it's like
Hmm.
condensed down to basically just the equations and not really like the lecture-y part of it.
Hmm.
So, some people like it. I didn't find it that useful because I had the big one and it kind of was all
Hmm.
inclusive. It had everything in it that you needed. This, however, I did find very useful. So this is it's like a little quick book of unit conversions. So instead of
Hmm.
having to do like a bunch of stoichiometry all the time, like it'll just have like a list of numbers, like a list of conversions. So if you want to go from inches to meters and you don't want to have to
Hmm.
like go through all the steps, it just has a little multiplier there. You can like find, and it's like alphabetized basically,
Oh,
and you just find like a conversion factor. So whatever number you have, you just multiply it by the conversion factor and it just
hmm.
gets you the answer really quick. So
That's really helpful.
yeah, that was really helpful. Lindbergh has practice problems. I would recommend getting that book. And we'll talk more about NCEES. They have practice
Hmm.
problems as well, but in my opinion, because I went through both of them, Lindbergh over prepares you,
Hmm.
and the NCEES practice problems under prepare you. Like they seem really easy, and you're like, oh, I got this, but the actual test is harder than the practice problems, the practice exam that they give you on NCEES. Whereas Lindbergh makes it seem really, really hard so that when you go and take the test, it feels easy.
So it's a little bit opposite with the FE because what I found
Hmm.
it's true with Lindbergh because I did use
Okay.
the book that you recommended
Hmm.
me like
Hmm.
a few years ago.
Yeah.
What I ended up doing was like following these like YouTube lectures
Hmm.
from I forgot his name, it's like Mark something.
Okay.
And he was great, but his the way that he went about it was like the his practice problems were pretty much like the way that the FE problems were written.
Okay.
And then I would just follow what he did. And then on the parts or the sections that I thought I felt really weak, I would go back to Lindbergh and then use him
Got it.
to help me. And at the very end, just like a few days right before I took the FE, then I went in and took the NCES, and
Hmm.
that made me feel really nervous. I was like, oh, this seems a whole lot harder. But then
Oh,
uh, I went into the exam, and it was not difficult at all.
okay. Okay. Yeah. So I maybe it's a little bit backwards. It's a little bit
Yeah,
opposite now for the PE.
yeah.
So as you know, this is the calculator that I'm a proponent of. Do you still use this calculator?
I have two of them now.
Okay. I mean, you know why they're amazing. So I don't
Yeah,
need to
they
go
are.
too far on that, but this is an approved calculator for the exam. That's why I always am trying to get my students to use it so they
Yeah.
can be so used to it by the time the exam rolls around. And then, okay, so hold on. I'm gonna grab my book.
Okay. Yeah.
Look at this is crazy. Look at all these tabs.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, okay,
That
so
is a big book.
yeah, it's huge.
Oops. What did I do? Okay.
So big. Um, all right. So what I wanted to point out
Hmm.
is when you get the book, like all books,
Hmm.
there's a table of contents, right? And see how it's organized. I'm trying to see where my camera is. Okay. See how it's organized by section? Like there's like a bold
Hmm.
list and then there's subcategories, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so what I did when I was studying, I wonder if I can maybe I put it on the other book. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, so this is what I was wanting to show you. I was going to talk about. If you go to the
Hmm.
NCEES website, it has all the different exams you can click on. It has a bunch of references
Hmm.
for you. When you click on some of this stuff, there's like a 24-page thing that talks to you about like a lot of like frequently asked questions and just
Hmm.
sort of a guide to all that stuff. So what I noticed when I was looking at the list of questions here, it
Hmm.
says that they are providing you the NCSPE Civil Reference Handbook, and that's the
Hmm.
only reference you have. So that is way different than how, because you're taking it electronically. I took it by hand, and we were allowed
Hmm.
to bring in anything we wanted,
Yeah.
like we had any resources. So but we also had the reference handbook as well. But
Hmm.
you're going to have it electronically, which is nice because that makes it searchable.
Hmm.
But when I looked to find how to get it, because it's good to use that to study to be used to it,
Hmm.
they said you can get it through your NCS
Yeah.
portal. So you have to be logged in and then you can access that.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the same way, or they did the same thing for the FE,
okay, okay,
where they did give us the PDF, but I had to be logged into my account.
okay.
Also, are you aware that they're updating the PE exam now?
In what way?
So they're changing up the first 8 hour exam. They're essentially like getting rid of the breadth. They're mainly focusing on the depth now.
Okay,
And it kind of just depends on which exam you want to take. Like for the water resources, I think they just got rid of the structural portion of the depth. They took out some of the stuff that essentially you probably wouldn't even put into practice if, let's say, you were in water
okay,
resources.
okay.
So now it's mainly depth focused, and it just sort of depends if you're taking the structural one or
Got it.
not.
Got it.
Yeah.
But okay, so I know in California you have to like after the couple of years you at least in the past had to take the seismic and the surveying. Do you still have to
Yeah.
do that?
Hmm. It's
Okay.
just the first 8 hour that they're changing.
Okay, because yeah, it used to be the morning section was like everyone basically took the same test, and
Hmm.
then the afternoon section was more like focused. So you're saying basically now the whole exam's just focused on whatever material
Hmm.
you pick.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, it's interesting because when I go on their own website, this is the list of the problems, and it says that the exam topics haven't changed since April 2015.
Oh,
So I wonder
interesting.
when that change is going to be made.
It's in April, so coming up.
Maybe they'll republish this resource soon.
Yeah.
But essentially, you can find it on their website and it lists how many questions you would expect for each topic. So it can help you kind of rest easy. Like if there's a topic you're freaking out about, and you can go
Mhm.
look and be like, oh, there's only going to be 1 to 3 questions about economics. Oh,
Mhm.
oh well, so it can help you kind of focus your study on like, okay, what's the bulk of the exam? But of course, you want to try and cover all of this stuff if you can. So, and then, okay, so they do have the practice exams, but like I said, in my opinion, they might feel a little bit easy compared to the Lindbergh.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is how I scheduled my studies when I did it on my own, which is I took the table of contents and I see how I put dates. I
Oh, okay. Yeah.
basically I basically engineered my schedule. Like I looked at, what's today's date versus when is the exam,
Mhm.
and I just back calced how much time I had to cover each section.
Mhm.
So I mean, for the exam, it looks like for me, May, June, July. I was studying May, June, July because then I think I did August because at my time you could take all 3 tests at the same time. So I did
Mhm.
August for like seismic and September for surveying, and then I took everything in October or something. But essentially for the 8 hour, I studied for 3 months.
Mhm.
And I just broke it up by section. Like I have 10 sections to get through in this month or whatever. So the sort of cadence of what I did was I would read about the topic in the reference manual, and then I would go do the problems and go back and forth based off of the calendar in terms of how many topics I had to cover that day. When I was studying, I would study like, you have to figure out when you can focus the best, but like I would either get to work early and just
Mhm.
study like before work started, or I would stay late and study at work just so I wasn't like distracted by other things at home. And
Mhm.
then like Saturdays and Sundays, I would study at home. But one of the key things, because when you're taking the test, a lot of times it's like time management.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily like, do you know how to do this problem? It's can do you have time to do the problem? And can you use
Mhm.
your own engineering judgment to say, I don't have time and I need to skip it, you know?
Mhm.
So because of that, when you're studying, in my opinion, the way you should study is when you're doing the problems, let's say you're doing the practice problems just for section 1-3 or whatever,
Mhm.
would break up the amount of time, like only allot yourself that amount of time to do those practice problems, like fresh.
Mhm.
So I'm looking at this and it says that it's a 9 hour exam and it contains 80 questions. So
Mhm.
540 minutes with 80 questions that's not bad at all. Like at all. That's like 6 minutes a
Mhm.
question. Okay.
I thought it was eight hours, and then
I
you get the
thought so
50
too.
minute break.
Well, it says 9 hours. It says examinees have 9 hours to complete the exam, which contains 80 questions, but it has a tutorial and a scheduled break. So if that's
Oh, okay.
including it, I wonder how many actual minutes you have to take the exam. Do you think it's
If
eight
I re-
hours?
I think it's eight. If I remember correctly, at least the way that they timed
Mm-hmm.
the FE, they
Mm-hmm.
also added that extra hour, but you had like I think it was 11 minutes to go through like the preliminary stuff, just telling you what the test was about and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Um, and then they included your break time with it for some reason. So instead of what was it? Suppose it's they call it the 6 hour, but you have like five to take it or
Got
something.
it. Okay,
Yeah.
so even if it's 8 hours and not nine, you still have exactly then 6 minutes
Mm-hmm.
per problem. So basically, if you're going to do 10 practice problems tomorrow based on just one little section you studied, then you would only give yourself 10 times 6 minutes. You'd only give yourself 60 minutes to sit down and do those problems. So
Mm-hmm.
the few reasons for that is a lot of times when you are studying just like in school, you get you can get stuck on like really trying to understand material. You might spend an hour on one problem, to
Hmm.
just like really dig deep into the material and try and figure it out and like fully understand it. But that's actually like less the purpose of your studying
Hmm.
than just getting used to taking the test and being
Hmm.
comfortable taking the test. So you've got to be comfortable under the pressure. You
Yeah.
can't be like, okay, later I'll try and do this problem faster. I'll do it slow first, then I'll try and do it fast. No, you've got to start from the beginning. Always only give yourself 6 minutes a problem. So look at how many problems you're about to sit down and do. Give yourself 6 minutes a problem and time yourself and set a
Hmm.
timer. Um, After it, when you go and review to figure out like how accurate you were and what your score was, then you can go take more time if you want to understand, what mistake you made and why and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And that's fine. But you need to, from the start, before you've read the problems at all, be in that sort of like pressured setting,
Hmm.
um, so that you're used to making the quick decisions of, do I even have time to do this problem and things like that.
Hmm.
Um, so when you're taking the exam, I would say go through. So this is electronic. So okay, so when you do the FE, when you did the FE, could you see like a couple pages at a time, or was it one
No.
problem at a time, or what was it?
So what was on my screen was that you like imagine Adobe PDF,
Yeah.
Adobe Reader. You have your sidebar.
Hmm.
There's your search tabs and your bookmarks and whatnot,
Hmm.
and you could search the reference handbook, and if you search it, like a page will pull out, so you have your information on the reference handbook. But beside that sidebar,
Hmm.
you get one question, and you can only see one question at a time. If you want to skip it, you have to flag it and then you
Hmm.
move on to the next question. And at the very end, before you can hit the final submit button, they'll give you a list of the questions that you flagged, which questions you didn't flag, but then just didn't answer.
Okay.
And then all the other stuff that you did answer, but it'll just show you the numbers. It wouldn't give you like a summary of what the questions were about.
Okay, and you
Um,
can just go back to those
yeah,
numbers.
and you just go
But
back.
you can take notes, right? Like do they give you some sort of something?
Nope.
Well, where do you put your work? How are you working on the
Uh,
problems?
they give you a um this like laminated sheets, and then you use the that
Like a dry
wet
erase?
marker. Not dry
Okay.
erase. They use the wet marker because they
Oh,
don't
okay.
want you. I don't know what the reason was, but that I think they want to see what you do. I don't know.
Huh.
There's some like security reasons they want you to use the wet markers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Um.
Okay. I think still my strategy stands.
Yeah.
Because what I would say is you need to ask yourself, like, you do like a first sweep of the questions. So
Hmm.
you read the question and you have to ask yourself, do I know how to do it? Can I do it quickly?
Hmm.
Yes or no. And if that's a yes, then just do it. If that's a
Hmm.
no, skip it. Okay. But and also remember that there are theory questions on there that take zero calculations at all that you might be
Hmm.
able to answer in 30 seconds versus 6 minutes, and that'll give you more time for other problems. But they're worth the same amount of points.
Hmm.
So if you see this one problem where you're like just be careful not to get sucked into a problem that like I know how to do that. I remember how to do that, but it'll take me forever,
Hmm.
versus just answering like a theory question, A, B, C, D, that takes no time and it's like worth the same, you know?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
so answer the ones you understand first right away and go through those.
Yeah.
Then come back to the ones you think you can do, but you just need a little bit more time, as long
Hmm.
as it's like a reasonable amount of time. And when you've studied like this, you want to do like your practice problems the
Hmm.
same way, like you're taking the exam. So when you're doing your practice problems, same thing. Can you answer it or come back if you need more time the second time? The third sweep is going to be the questions that you feel like you can at least eliminate a few options
Hmm.
and pay attention to like common mistakes. So, for example, when I was taking the PE exam, I remember there was this question where there was a pier and it had three columns to support it. And it said, what is the force in one of these columns?
Hmm.
It had like a load and everything. And I remember thinking, okay, I don't have time to do this, But I do know that someone is going to calculate the total load and forget to divide by 3, like
Hmm.
forget to distribute it. And so I looked at the ABCD and I found, okay, like let's say it was 5, 10, 15, 20 were the answers, right?
Hmm.
Well, 15 is 3 times 5. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Yeah.
someone's going to put 15. That's the common mistake. So the answer's 5.
Hmm.
Like that. So you can do the problem without doing it.
Yeah.
So you've got to think to yourself, should the answer absolutely never be negative? Like that wouldn't make sense. Okay, eliminate the
Hmm.
couple negative answers. Or what is a common mistake that people might do? And find the answer that's the common mistake and then find the real answer,
Hmm.
just by doing that. So then you would go do those. The fourth sweep, you're left with all the problems you have no idea about. You got nothing, no
Hmm.
clue, never seen it in your life. Right? And
Yeah.
so while you've been doing this, so you can use these wet markers, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So at the top of your wet marker notes, have A, B, C, D, and tally. Okay, I chose A, I chose B, I chose C as you're going
Yeah.
and keep track of how many A, B's, C's, and D's you got
Hmm.
because it's a standardized exam. So in theory, it should all be around the same amount of A, B's, C's, and D's. I'm serious. And so then if you're guessing your fourth sweep, you have no
Hmm.
clue, no idea, can't eliminate any options. You look and you're like, I don't have very many B's. I'm gonna guess B. So you're like at least like working your probability there,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm using a little bit of probability to help me, get those
Hmm.
answers. And I'm pretty sure they don't deduct points if you get it wrong. Like on the SATs, if you got a problem wrong,
Hmm.
they would actually like they would penalize you for
Oh.
guessing basically on the SATs. But for this exam, they don't penalize you for guessing. So you should never want to leave anything blank.
Oh
Like
yeah.
if you have to guess, guess. But even like on the SATs, it was actually more strategic if you had no clue to just leave it blank because then you get 0 points versus if you guessed and got it wrong, they'd subtract
That's interesting.
points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, uh, that's my test taking. Before I go on to the next topic, any
Hmm.
questions about what I've said so far?
No, I just thought
Okay.
it was really clever. I never thought of just tallying up my multiple
Yeah.
choice answers.
Yes. So do that, Patricia, even when you're doing
Yeah.
like 10 practice problems at a time.
Yeah.
Like just get in the habit of every time I do practice problems, I'm tallying my ABCDs. I'm doing my first, second, third, and fourth sweep,
Hmm.
and I'm timing myself,
Yeah.
so that every time you're used to it. And then you want to, and you're just going to toggle. You're going to
Hmm.
read, do the problems, and you're going to break the calendar out by the table of contents. So you cover everything by the time that you need to test. Give yourself a
Hmm.
few weeks before the exam to just sit down and take practice exams,
Hmm.
because you want to get used to literally sitting there for 4 hours straight because it's an
Hmm.
8 hour exam. They give you a break. You get to go have lunch and then come back.
Hmm.
But like it is hard for a lot of people to just sit there and take a test for that long.
Yeah.
Like it's exhausting. So it's almost like you're training for a marathon.
Hmm.
People run a mile and then 2 miles and then 3 miles. It's like you got
Hmm.
to really get your body used to it and build up to it so
Hmm.
that by the time that day comes, you're ready.
Yeah.
Um, Now the other things that I want to talk about are taking care of yourself while you're
Hmm.
studying and preparing for this exam. So you need to like zero in on your sleep habits, like making sure you're going to bed at the same time and waking up at the
Hmm.
same time, and that your sleep quality is good, like you actually feel refreshed when you wake
Hmm.
up. And so what that might take, right? Like the temperature in your room and all the sorts of things, if you
Yeah.
need white noise or whatever it might take to like get good sleep.
Hmm.
Nutrition,
Hmm.
focusing on putting like good fuel into your body because your brain needs all that it can get while you're
Hmm.
studying. And you don't want to be like crashing, right? If you need to
Yeah.
study after work, you don't want to be crashing because you had like a bad meal for lunch that's like making you just want to take a nap. So you got to like think about that while you're eating. And then I don't know if did I ever send you because I have the meditation recordings for there. It's like a recording you can listen to that literally helps you prepare for a test. Like so you don't have
Really?
jitters. Yeah.
Oh, I don't
Yeah.
think you ever sent those to me.
So I can send that to you too. Like if you ever get nervous or whatever,
Okay.
it almost just helps you like get in a good like chill spot. So if you listen to
Hmm.
that a lot, then you can just like feel like in the zone, you
Hmm.
know, for
Yeah.
the test and not feel nervous.
Hmm.
So those sorts of things, exercising and you know,
Yeah.
just
Hmm.
self-care,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
are important. Like
Oh yeah.
people think they're not, but they are. They think they're like
Oh,
extra, but they're like you
oh
should
yeah.
start there.
Oh yeah. I've been going to the gym and I was going a lot before
Yeah.
work. I've been trying really hard to re-implement it or to try and go more
Yeah.
often. Um, it's been good. I think I've been doing a pretty good job
Yeah.
in terms
You want to do
of
something that you
yeah.
enjoy, you know, so you
Yeah.
look forward to it and you're motivated to do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, the exercise itself is just like so good for your mental
Yeah.
clarity, you know? Um, and it helps you sleep better at night because you're like
Oh yeah.
more exhausted by the time
Hmm.
nighttime rolls around. So, okay, some people are like morning birds, some
Hmm.
people are night owls. What would you say you are?
It's hard. That's a hard question because I when I know I need to get stuff done, I will wake up early. Um, so like work.
Yeah.
I start at 6:30 every day.
Okay.
That way I have time later in the day to get all the things I need to get done.
Yeah.
But if I was just like lounging, I tend to sleep much later. So I guess for the PE, I'd be waking up early
You'd be a
anyway.
morning person. Like,
Yeah.
do you think your mind is the clearest in the morning?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. By the evening time, my mind just it
Yeah.
wanders.
Yeah. So you want to find the time that works best for you and
Hmm.
study in those hours, you know.
Hmm.
So be realistic with yourself about
Hmm.
when are you the most clear-minded because you don't want to
Hmm.
be like, oh, I'm gonna just do my normal day and then I'll study from 8 to 10 p.m. because that's the time I have. And then you're like so pooped by the end of the day, you can't
Yeah.
even crack
Yeah.
open the book. So you've got to know yourself. Some people are night owls, and that is when they're the most clear, you
Hmm.
know, but it sounds like you are the most clear in the morning. So you've got to be
Yeah.
like, all right, well, actually, I'm gonna start work at 8 a.m., but I'm getting to
Okay.
the office at 6:30 still
Hmm.
and I'm going to study for an hour and a half every day,
Hmm.
you know, something like
Yeah.
that, because that's when my mind is the clearest. And so you want to block out the time that your mind is the clearest to study,
Hmm.
and then maybe work and block out fun too,
Hmm.
because you want to be able to like look forward to those things and be well-rounded and not like have a breakdown because you're not giving yourself any time,
Yeah.
you know? So
Yeah.
it's important. So in my opinion, a lot of this studying is if you can be regimented and you can schedule it out, then
Hmm.
you'll be okay because you can pace yourself enough where you won't feel rushed. You won't feel like
Hmm.
you're cramming.
Hmm.
It's might be kind of interesting because you're like getting back into learning a few things you haven't touched on in a while, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And it won't feel pressured as long as you pace it out
Hmm.
properly. And you can feel confident that you're paced properly if you do it in the manner that I said, because
Hmm.
if you've covered the entire table of contents of the book, you know you're good, right? You
Hmm.
so you've just got to back calc how many months, when do I want to take this test? How many months do I have? And
Hmm.
therefore break it down. How many sections do I have to cover each week?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Professor, you always make me so motivated to study. I don't know what it is, but
Good.
that's probably why I was always at your office hours, but
That's good. So
yeah.
when do you want to take it?
Well, the goal was to take it by summer, which I still do have time to study for
Hmm.
before like midsummer probably.
Yeah.
It I could probably do then. I need to sign up and actually see when the dates are, and then I'll figure it out then. But the goal is to get it done by like the middle of the year is what we
Okay, like what, June, July?
probably like July. maybe
Okay.
August. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if you're going to take, let's say, 3 months to
Hmm.
study, then you would start March or April.
Hmm.
Yeah, sometime soon. So
Hmm.
you'd maybe start thinking about ordering all these materials and just like gathering all your
Hmm.
resources about now.
Okay.
And I mean, if you wanted to meet again, we could, and I could help you sort of like block out your time and figure out what to cover each month.
Okay.
Um, yeah, because I've helped people do that before. Um, Going back
Yeah.
to your question though about the course.
Hmm.
I mean, you could still do the course. You could do this and do the course, or you
Hmm.
could only do the course. But when you're only doing the course, you're relying on that other person to pace you,
Hmm.
you know, and you're relying on, I guess the course though is designed to pass. So you
Yeah.
just have to be honest with yourself. Like, if you go to this course, I guarantee you they're gonna send you home with homework and they're gonna
Hmm.
say, work these problems by the next time we see you, and you've got to do it. So
Yeah.
either way, you have to have self-discipline. Because what I find is a lot of people think that all they have to do is sign up for this course and it's just gonna like magically get them to pass. But
Yeah.
just showing up to the class is like just the starting point. It's basically in lieu of reading the textbook section of the
Hmm.
book, you're having someone tell it to you, but you still have to do all the work of
Yeah.
the problems and stuff. Um, so either way will work, but do not get sucked into the vortex of trying to work the problems out to the very end and trying to figure out each intricacy of each problem. You've got to
Hmm.
start from the beginning of I am trying to pass a test and
Hmm.
this is how the test is formatted. Therefore, I'm going to practice the way the test is formatted. Every practice problem you do, you just give yourself 6 minutes and you do it. Even if you're doing
Okay.
one problem, six
Yeah.
minutes, go, set the timer, you know?
Hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, if it's going to be at least similar to the way that the FE was set up,
I imagine it is.
yeah. Though, I mean, yeah, it should work out just fine. In the sense that every question was paced out to be, however long you're supposed to take on them.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
Did you feel
I
rushed when you took the FE?
uh sort of, because I did end up like dwelling on a few of the problems, but I did pretty much what you had just told me.
Hmm.
I went through I didn't go through like all the and just like looked at the problems the first run,
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
because I had to click on like every single page and it would load
Yes.
up, and I felt like I was wasting a lot of time waiting for the screen to load.
Yes.
So what I did instead is I'd have the problem, look at it. If I could just solve it really quickly, then I solved it. If I
Yeah.
knew that it would take more time, I'd flag it, skip it,
Okay.
move on to the next one. And then once I got to the very end, I go through those same questions again and then see which of those problems would take me even longer, and I'd save those for
Hmm.
last.
Good.
Um,
Good.
and then yeah, there's a few of the test taking strategies if any of the answers didn't make any sense.
Hmm.
I pretty much like what you had just
Yeah.
told me. It worked out pretty well. But just because I did dwell on a few of those problems, I did have to just like quickly choose an answer
Uh-huh.
at the very end and then submit. Um, I mean, I passed the first time, so it
So
worked out.
yeah. So that's where the tally will come
Yeah,
in handy. Because
yeah.
if you do find yourself having to choose, at least you're like, okay,
Hmm.
I'm gonna play my probabilities here and
Hmm.
pick B because I don't have many B's
Yeah,
or
that's so
whatever.
smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and the common mistake one
Hmm.
was really big for me because I always thought when you do multiple choice problems, like if you worked
Hmm.
out the problem and then you found your answer, you're like, "Yay, I found my answer. I'm
Hmm.
right." But that doesn't mean you're right
Yeah.
because it could mean you just made a common mistake that everyone else made.
Hmm.
And
Another one
yeah.
was that I had learned was that if there are two answers that are too close to each other,
Hmm.
it's probably are probably not the answers. This is something I've heard from
Oh,
prepping for
interesting.
the FE. Like if there was an answer that was like 23.5 and the other one's 23.8,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, those are probably not correct. Either one of those.
Well, typically the problem statements a lot of times will be, this is what's also annoying, is it'll be like, look, I'm reading a problem right now. It says the
Mhm.
final mix is most nearly, and then it's just like very
Yeah.
general numbers.
Hmm.
So it's actually you're not likely going to find your exact number. And
Hmm.
so that's what sucks is like
Yeah,
you're going
I
to get
do remember that.
425 and then they'll say your answer is most nearly 400 or 500 and you're like, I guess
Yeah.
400.
I forgot about that. That bugged me during the exam. I was like,
Yes.
what are these
Yes.
numbers?
And it's because they just want to eliminate the fact that like people round and
Yeah.
they don't want like a rounding error to get you to get the wrong answer, so they just give
Yeah.
such like big zoomed out answers so that everyone will land on the
Hmm.
same one even if they
Hmm.
rounded here or rounded there, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The other thing
Oh,
about the
yeah.
now I don't know if this has changed, but I will tell you my knowledge from when I took it
Hmm.
is they're very secretive about how they score. Like
Yeah.
you didn't, when you took the FE, you didn't, it just didn't just say like you passed right after you took it, right?
Yeah. I just said you passed and it gave me where I fell the
But did you get it
scores.
instantly?
I got it within or in 10 days or whatever
Oh,
the
within, yeah, but
website
not like
says. Yeah.
literally submit. You didn't click submit and then like it was done. You had
Nope.
to wait for your results, right?
I waited and then didn't tell me where my weak spots were. And that bugged me for
It
a month.
didn't? I
And
thought
no,
it did.
it didn't.
It's
It
supposed to,
just,
oh,
or
maybe the
unless I just
PE.
didn't look in the
Yeah, I
right
think maybe
place.
they do it for the PE. They'll give you a
Okay.
summary of like that.
I
But,
hope
but,
so.
well, no, no, actually, okay. If you pass, they don't tell you. If you
Oh,
don't pass, they do tell you because then it helps you like, okay, this is where I need to study for next time,
hmm.
like these topics. Because
Yeah.
they don't give you, it's a pass fail. They don't want you to be like, oh, I got a 75%. I'm a better engineer than you. You've got
Yeah.
63%, so they just want like pass fail. And then if you fail, it's like focus here when you're studying. They don't want to give
Hmm.
you a real score. And the point I was getting to is what's crazy is um, a lot of the problems on there are like they're like testing them out. They're like beta problems.
Hmm.
So, and you don't know which ones are which. So they are just getting statistics on like whether they feel like this specific problem is fair or not. And
Hmm.
so a lot of those problems are just eliminated before they even score you because they're just
Hmm.
like testing them. And then if other problems like everyone got it right, they eliminate those too because they're like, oh, that problem was too easy. And
Hmm.
then if everyone got it wrong, they're like, that problem was too hard. So they
Hmm.
take out all the beta testing ones. They take out all the easy ones. They take out all the hard ones.
Hmm.
And then they rank you amongst
Yeah.
your peers. And then they take this like secret top percent and pass.
Hmm.
So they'll never, it's not like, oh, you have to get a 75 and that's what means you pass. Like it's impossible to know if you passed. You just have to
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah. I left that testing room feeling like I didn't pass, but I knew that at least there were 70 out of the 100 questions, or I can't remember exactly how many questions were on there.
Okay.
70 of them I was able to just answer, and then the 30 of them that I just had to go through again. So I was like,
That's
okay,
not
well,
bad.
yeah. I
That's
don't
not
know.
bad at
Well,
all.
I'm used to not just getting to
I know,
70.
but my point is I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. So they do kind of generally tell you on their website,
Yeah.
like, they have a chart that says like people who tend to pass, like the percent chance of you passing
Hmm.
based on which test you're going to take, um, based on data in the past.
Hmm.
But it ends up historically being you only need like a 60%
Oh, okay.
ish. It's always ish because, of
Yeah.
all the things I
Thanks.
already talked about.
Yeah.
But so that they don't actually have a specific percentage you would need because it is dependent on who took it at that time and which
Hmm.
problems they actually use or not. But the fact that you were able to use answer 70 right away
Hmm.
and some of those 30 you got right.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So you may have, been up in the 80s range. You don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing that bugged me. I just didn't know.
You wanted your percent. Give
I
me my
wanted
letter
to
grade.
know. It would come back and haunt me even though I knew I passed.
Really? You still just you needed to know.
Just I needed to know what I didn't get right.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Um, plan plan something fun after the test too that you can look
Oh
forward
yeah.
to. I remember I don't remember if it was the FE or the PE, but my friend was planning like this really fun tropical vacation
Oh.
afterwards. Like
Hmm.
she was gonna go scuba diving and everything.
Oh.
I mean, so it's just fun to be like, hey, once I get past this, I'm gonna do this
Hmm.
fun thing, you know?
Yeah. I'm timing it that, I take the PE and
Hmm.
then and right before my 6 month probation ends.
Okay.
So I can go take a little short trip after.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
perfect timing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's see.
Well, do you have anything else you can think of right now?
No, I think it was just essentially what you've already talked about, just
Uh-huh.
general strategies when it came to
Uh-huh.
studying. I think I'm leaning more on self-studying now because
Okay.
at least the way that I paced myself for the FE was I was practically pacing my own studies. I didn't do a course or anything like that.
Okay.
Um, it could work out a little bit better that way than, like you said, if there was like extra homework and whatnot. Having to do the course and then my own studying on top of, my normal
Oh,
schedule with
yeah.
work and then
Yeah.
having time for myself. It might be a little bit too much and it could, what might end up happening is that I don't want to study anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen. I just want to be, I want to get done what I need to get done,
Yeah.
rather than feeling overwhelmed.
The other resource that can be available to you are I have all
Mhm.
my lectures recorded. So
Oh,
if there's ever some material that you're struggling with,
mhm.
let me know and I can
Okay.
find like if I've lectured on it before, I can find that lecture and send you the
Okay.
link. Yeah.
Okay. You're still teaching the same
Not
subjects?
anymore, but I have lectures of all my statics lectures,
Hmm.
I have all my statistics lectures, and I have all my economics lectures.
Okay.
So any of those I
All right.
can give you if you need them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let you know once I
Yeah.
get to that point.
Yeah.
But was
Do you
so what are
want
you?
me?
Oh,
What
sorry.
is your email? I can send you like the links and stuff. Oh, you already
I
gave it
guess.
to me, didn't you?
Yeah.
You gave it to me on LinkedIn. I
Yeah.
can, yeah, I'll go back to that and I'll send you like links to all this.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I don't want to dissuade you away from taking a class if all these people have told you they liked it and it helped them and they passed. But I just wanted you to think about what
Yeah.
would fit best for you because it might help them, but not you. So it just depends.
Yeah. I mean, it'll still be something that I need to weigh out,
Yeah.
and do a little bit more research on what each of these courses actually will require me to do. Um, it's just the few people that I have talked to did. I think that there's been a mix of people just
Oh, okay.
self-studying and then taking the course, and the people who did take the course have always had like high praises for the course. So it's just a
Okay.
matter of me trying to figure out what would work well,
Yeah. Is the
for my
course so
own.
the course has lectures, I'm guessing, and you
Yeah,
just watch them at your own pace?
yeah, you can do them at your own pace, and then they have, so within the at least for the EET, it's like $1,000. There's like different tiers. I
Hmm.
think it starts at 900, and I think that's like their quickest course. They like pace it by weeks, I think is how they do
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
And it goes up to like 1,000 something. I think it's about 1,000. It's like $1,100, something like that. And with that, you get your lectures and practice material,
Hmm.
um, instead of having to buy more practice material.
Oh, I see. It's all
Uh,
included. Yeah.
yes, it's all included, and you get your videos. You do have to be logged in onto their website.
Hmm.
And then I think you essentially just pace yourself. It's just depending on which tier you buy, you have more videos.
Hmm.
Um,
So you could do it the same way, essentially,
mhm,
that I did with this textbook. You just use their material
mhm,
and then block it out. I'm going to do these three lectures this week
mhm,
and whatever,
mhm.
and do the practice problems along with it. So you could do it the same way. for me, because I was able to bring this in the test, it was helpful for me to like use
Hmm.
this physical book and mark it up and everything because I could
Hmm.
bring it in. But because you can't bring it in, I guess at that point it's not like, you're not going to be tabbing anything or taking notes
Hmm.
on anything that you can refer to when you take the test. So
Hmm.
it's all just preference.
Yeah. I'll have to figure it out. Because at least when I was taking or studying for the FE, I had a lot more time to study for it. That I can do the videos and then do Lindbergh's and then do the
Mm-hmm.
NCEES stuff. Now my time is a lot more limited, so I need to figure out what I actually have time for.
You've got time though on the weekends, right? You don't work on
Yeah,
the weekends, do you?
yeah, I have time on the weekends. But it's just more like during the weekdays when I should also still be studying at least a little bit. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. So I would just get in the habit of like get to the office at 6:30 or
mhm,
whatever and study from 6:30 till 8:30 or something. And
mhm,
then that's when you start your work day and just
mhm.
like have a routine. It's like no one's in the office, it's quiet, I can focus,
Yeah.
and just I mean every single day you can have that 2 hour block of studying in
Mhm,
the morning when your mind is fresh. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, do more. Like do like
mhm,
like 4 hours. Maybe what you do is you do 8 to noon every
mhm,
Saturday and Sunday or something. And then you give yourself, the afternoons to relax and
mhm,
exercise and do the things.
mhm,
Um, but maybe do bigger blocks of time on Saturday and Sunday,
mhm.
to just I think it's more for like just discipline.
Yeah,
You got to
yeah,
just stick with it. People
yeah.
are going to laugh at you because you're going to be studying for so long. Like they'll be
It's
like, "Oh, come
fine.
on, Patricia, why are you still studying? Come have fun." So, you want to be able to have enough fun where you're like, "I'll go to dinner with you on Saturday." Like
Yeah.
I have time to go to dinner,
Mhm,
I can go to the
mhm,
gym with my friend or whatever on Saturday,
mhm.
but still be like, "Sorry, Saturday mornings, 8 to noon, I
Yeah,
study." You know?
yeah.
And just have that blocked out so that you're committed to it and you're not just like trying to fit in studying,
Mhm,
when you feel like it or when you might have free time, because magically you won't have free time. So
mhm.
you've got to like force the time in. And with that, even force the time in for the exercise and the fun and all the other
Yeah.
things too.
It's a good thing a lot of the people I'm talking to are civil engineers, so
Yeah.
they understand.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
true. They get it. They get it.
yeah.
I mean, I was surrounded by engineers too, but I was I was studying for 3 exams at once.
Oh, yeah,
So I studied
yeah.
for 5 months basically because I did 3 months for the 8 hour and then 1 month for each of the other
Mhm,
exams.
mhm.
So 5 months, they're like, come on, how much do you have to study for this test? But I was
There's
like,
a
guys,
lot.
I want to pass this the first time.
Yeah,
I don't want to retake it. It's a long test. I don't have to do it
it's
again,
yeah. It costs money.
Yes. And time and
Yeah,
dedication and energy. I'm doing it once and I'm gonna be
yeah,
done.
yeah.
So yeah,
All right. I'll keep you up to date on how things go.
good.
At least once I have my test date and get all that started, I'll let you know. Maybe I'll ask for your help when it comes to scheduling my
Okay.
studies. But yeah, no, thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you for all
of
the
course.
tips. It's been helpful. Like I said, you've just motivated me to start studying. But
That's great.
yeah,
All right. Well, I'm happy to help. I'm glad that
yeah,
we were able to connect and
hmm,
you have my contact information. So if
yeah,
anything comes up, just let me know.
yeah. All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay. Good luck.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mhm. Bye.
Bye.